Hello and welcome to the next edition of the Thursday Night Grind. Full confession here, today is actually Friday. I have been a little bit sick. Too sick to get on the video last night, but I'm going to make up for it tonight by doing these Felcos. These are sweet. Anybody who's anybody in the pruning or landscaping industry, they're going to rock some of these. First, let's talk about Felcos a little bit. You can go to Walmart and buy some pruners for probably $8, and you're going to get $8 pruners. Or you can go buy Felcos for about $50, and they're going to be the last pair of pruners that you ever buy, and unless you decide to buy more down the road. And then you can, if you take good care of them, you can hand them down to, you can hand them down to your next generations, and they'll never have to buy pruners. So here's the thing: they're made well, and then the blade, if you have to sharpen it to a point where they don't. Here's what happens when you sharpen them too much, you'll squeeze them and they won't cross at the tips, and then you got to replace the blade. But you can buy new blades and just swap them out. And those blades are about as much as you'll pay for a pair of pruners at Walmart. But the thing is, the rest of it, all the internals, all this stuff lasts forever. So I love these, and I'm going to do a full tear down, sharpening, and rebuild of them. All right, so let's just jump right into it. I'm going to bring you down to my bench. All right, so I'm just gonna whip through this. I'm gonna pull that spring off, put that in my tray so I don't lose it. I set myself up with my tools. Sometimes you can get a screwdriver in here. I found that it's a narrow slot, and two, if they have not been serviced in a while, then the screwdriver might kind of rip it up. So I just use a socket. Yeah, it's kind of tight. Okay. But that's all right. It spins nice when it comes out. That's good. I have my handy little tray here, a little magnetic tray, so I hopefully don't lose anything. So this is just this is a little lock to lock the tensioner, and then the screw. Keep those together. That's 8 mil, 7 mil. This one's sliding okay. It's not. We can lube that up though. Let's take that apart. I don't always pull this off, but when you do, be careful, because there is a little washer in here. On the inside, there's a little washer. All right, so keep all that together. Put that in our tray. Now these sometimes will come right apart, but usually not. So when you put them back together, you probably ought not use pliers, but when they have not been apart, oh, I didn't see that coming. All right, still sliding nice, but man, that is snug. All right, there she goes. If that wasn't gonna get it, I would have put some adjustables on here. Sorry if I'm falling out of view. Gotta lean into it a little bit. Get you more of a belly shot. Okay, so this will be nice. We'll clean these threads up, put some lube on them. Oh my goodness! Gotta get some adjustables. Hang on. Alright, usually they're not this tight, but this one is calling for a little more leverage. Easy does it. Alright, we'll see when this comes back together. That's gonna be buttery. Alright, there we go. Alright, and then one thing I'll show you here, we'll clean this up. But inside here, I don't know if you can see that or not, you'll see when we put it back together, but there's a little recession in there for lube. Pull this guy off. Pull the bolt out. Take all this apart. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting these. I gotta silence those messages in the future. All right, so now let's just take this right to the wire wheel. As much as I can, put on the wire wheel. Some of this stuff needs to go just a hand brush, so we'll get that. All right, to the wire wheel. There's a little bit of leftover lube in here. Let's pull that out. You see there's a little recession in there too for lubricant, which we'll fill up before we put it together. But that's what makes these last so long. Put some fresh lube in there, and that stuff doesn't wear out. It stays lubricated. Little lube left on this too. To get that nice and clean. Inside here. Yeah, I'm just gonna wipe a little bit of lube off of here. Okay, good to go there. Now I'm going to spin you. I'm going to go to the 1x30. I'm just going to, let's inspect it first. The bevel is not too bad on this, but it's fully rounded over. There is no edge. So I'm going to save myself a little time by cutting a new bevel on the 1x30. You should know too, this is a chisel grind, so it's totally flat on this side. Don't ever put a tool on this side. I'll show you what we do to get the burr off, but you only cut on the bevel side. All right, see that all right? right, so let's talk through, like, let's say you don't have if you don't have a wire wheel on a grinder, you can get away with a wire brush, right? Like the wire wheel's better. But let's say like you don't have a 1x30. What are some other ways you can get a bevel on here? A stone, like it would take a bit of work and you'd have to be pretty good to match that angle. Maybe a file. And I don't know if you could tell, maybe not when I was cutting it. I look at the back, and once, like, you can tell with the amount of time it took to cut that, like it had to go back quite a ways for it to get so that we get a true edge where the bevel on this side exactly meets the face on the back. What happens is it rounds over time, so you have to cut that bevel back. I used to do it on the Edge Pro using the scissor chisel attachment and a coarse stone. That took a lot of time. The 1x30 saved a lot of time there. I'm always hesitant with the grinder. Like you might be able to on the, you could on a grinder if you had a bench grinder. Maybe if you mounted it in a vise and used a 4-inch grinder, angle grinder. So I guess there's other ways to do it. Oh, and then the work sharp. I'm gonna put this in a vise and use the work sharp for the rest of it. But you could use a coarse belt on the work sharp with the tool grinding attachment to get that edge. So I guess the point is, like, you don't have to have all this stuff to do this if you have a pair of Felcos and you want to do your own. But you do kind of need to follow the procedure. And then the idea is if you're not feeling a burr on the back, you don't have an edge yet. And what I could do, like, which is something I can see but you can't, is I can kind of push that burr back and I can see that I'm building a burr around the whole edge. And only then do we move on to the next step. All right, so the next step is to refine this edge. Really, like, it's way sharper. Like, honestly, if that's all you had, that would be a marked improvement to how you started, and then you lube it up, and that could be all that you do. Because I have the capability to refine that edge, I'm going to. So I'm going to put it in my vise here and then break out the work sharp to refine it. See how that looks. The angle here. Make sure I have enough reach on my work sharp. I can get it. We'll start with not the wicked coarse, just the coarse. Do they call it the wicked coarse? I'm checking for a burr. I got a burr. All right, before I move on, I want to shave that burr off, and I want to show you how I'm going to do that. Let's come over to the bench here. I'll set up my, well, I have it. This could be, you could do this. I'm almost frustrated to show you how I do it because I have all of this sweet stuff, but you don't have to have all this to do this job if you have a pair of Felcos that you want to tune up. But what I have, any stone, this is a stone off the Edge Pro. So I like using full-size sharpening stone, but I don't have a good lapping plate at the moment, so it's really not flat enough for this. And this is just a little non-skid thing under it. Because this is the first time, maybe you can see how much garbage it's removing off the back of this. Just wipe that down. Check for the burr. Yeah, so it's not getting it all yet. There is still some at the tip. Oops. Remember, I was mentioning this is a chisel grind, so you want to make sure that you never do anything at any angle on the back side, only flat. Still not totally getting it. There we go. A little bit left there. A little bit left there. All right, I'm gonna move up. Oh, one thing I want to remind you too is like you can, if you're not familiar, like you can bump this up to 1.5 times speed if you're moderately impatient like I am watching YouTube. Good. Decided I don't remove the burr on every belt. And then hopefully, sorry about that, hopefully maybe you just saw, I like doing the push stroke to cut the burr off. If you do a pull stroke, I like doing the pull strokes early on in the sharpening process. But what happens, you're gonna push the burr back to the bevel. By doing the push stroke, you cut the burr right off, and that gets you a nice edge. Once you refine it, I think it matters less, but cool. And I'm gonna do one more belt, just 'cause I can. Back over here. 20 minutes, holy moly. Whew, that looks good. Blinding. Back to the stone. Cut that burr off. All right. Little touch test. Check the nail. Shaves my thumbnail. That's sharp. No burr. All right, let's put this baby back together. Move this stuff out of the way. Back to the bench. Hey, if you're getting any value out of this, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And I did forget something here. for these little things, I do like to just hit them with a wire brush. Watch that little washer. And I lean pretty heavily on my WD-40. Oh, don't lose it. I actually got it. I'm gonna hit this one on the belt sander. Clean up these threads. Those were snug, way too snug. Grease on there. We'll clean that off. Get all of that debris off of there. Back to the wire wheel with this piece. That is much better. Back to the workbench. Alright, I'm going to get a non-watery rag. And start the reassembly process. Alright, I'm using some white lithium grease here, not because I'm particularly tied to it, it's because I think that it seems to be a good solution. A nice blend of consistency, lubricity, durability. This is one of those little reservoirs in there. I'm going to fill that thing right up. Fill that baby right up. And then I'm also going to coat this down. Front and back. This is what goes into here. What can happen is these can, yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot with these. With other ones though, this metal can kind of bond to itself and be hard to get back out. Alrighty. Let me lube up the pin. That is a nice little dose. Get those threads good. Alright, so then this is a part where there's a square. Went right in for me too. Sometimes you need to spin the pin in order to get the square to line up. Alright. Now I have found that it helps to start, let me put some lube on here, start this one so that it keeps this plate in position. That spins nicely. And then fill up this little reservoir as well. With lube. Alright, so now, how's she gonna go? Ooh, look at that! Easy. That's what we want. Nice and easy. I'm gonna back it back out, run a little bit of lubricant down those threads. Yeah, see, like that's the way, like, if I get these next year, I would expect that would just spin right off. A little tight down here at the bottom. Let's work that a little bit. Yeah, so that's tight. A little too tight. I like that. That's nice. The spring will be able to get that. Contemplating maybe just a touch more. Yeah, right around there. Nice and tight. Make sure the spring gets that off. Let's hit that with a little WD before we throw it back in. Cycle it a few times. Get that lube all up in there. Wrap it down. You can buy little rebuild kits for these Felcos too, which is nice. Buy a new spring if that rusts out or wears out, or if you lose it. Yeah, opens up easy. Spring works. Pretty nice tension there, so the tension gets a nice connection between the cutter and the flat plate. So let's lock that in. That's what this little doodad is. Right there. That's good. Did I lose my other socket? So I use the magnetic tray, man. There it is. Don't need to overdo this. Right around there. Okay. Now this is the one. Sometimes these get a little bound up, and that's no fun when you can't open and close your locking mechanism. So get that nicely lubricated. Don't forget there's a little washer in there. And then spin that in. Yes. Oh yeah, that goes nice. Use the socket to get a better grip on it. Just work that thread a little bit. This one was a little snug coming off. Work that lube down into that thread. Use the wrench just to put a little more moxie on it. Don't overdo this, you know. Man, that's nice, isn't it? You can't tell, but let's take just a pinch more. Yeah, that's sweet. All right, so that is pretty good. What I just like to do though before, so there's some spots of white lithium grease coming out. I just like to hit the whole thing in WD and then wipe it down. I highly recommend this as a fall maintenance because the tool is going to go away for a few months. It keeps gets all the debris and dirt and stuff off it, and then it doesn't rust while it's sitting. All right. Felco number 2s, Swiss made, built to last. You can buy them on Amazon or any respectable like garden store probably has them. You're gonna pay more for them, but they're worth it. And then if you want to get into a business, not many people take care of their Felcos, so you could arguably build your business around servicing these. I charge $10, and now looking at the time, I'm half an hour in. Like, that's not a great turn on money, but maybe it took me a little longer because I was videotaping it. And you kind of need a setup for it. But anyway, can you see? Yeah, like there you go. That's a nice edge. Tip still crosses. Got another few years in those if we take good care of them. Okay, there you go. Remember to like and subscribe if you get any value out of this. If you have any interest in sharpening at all, every Thursday I go onto YouTube, and it looks like my live thing is going to work now, so hopefully next week I will be live on YouTube. And you can join me, and hopefully it could be a little bit interactive, and you can ask me questions on the way. And I just sharpened something that's on the bench at the American Edge, which is a sharpening side hustle that I have. I've been doing it for a few years. I've grown it to a really nice place right now. I work about an hour a night, 5 nights a week on it, and it brings in a nice little dose of extra revenue. I've used that money to build out my homestead, doing like garden, chicken, rainwater harvesting. I bought a bunch of perennials with it, bees. That's what the money's been used for. That's really why I started the business. And now I'm focusing on building out the studio and then growing the business into something that I can help other people get started, either by teaching sharpening in the studio or by teaching people how to start their own business. So anyway, if you have any interest in that and any of that, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to reach out to me regarding getting your own business going, I have a few people that I'm working with right now, and I'm looking to grow that out. I'm fleshing out my systems before I make it a more universal thing. You can reach out to me, Matt, at AmericanEdgeSharpening.com, and I'll leave all that info in the description below. Thank you so much. Any comments, questions, anything like that, please leave them below, and I'll see you next week.